Hello there folks, I'm the Lon Chaney Reviewer, and welcome to the 15th episode of Silent Film Saturday. Today I'm going to be talking about the 1925 production of The Monster, starring Lon Chaney Sr. Okay, so the packaging on this release is just the typical Warner archive, which I've complained a lot about whenever I reviewed a Chaney film from the Warner archive, because there are 10-minute chapter stops, all the main menus are basically the same thing, except the newer ones are slightly different from the older ones, but even then, that's not much of an improvement. No supplemental content, and I tried to trade in one of my, I had an extra copy of He Who Gets Slapped. Tried to trade in Suncoast, and they couldn't find it on their video catalog, so I was not able to trade it in. So these things are almost useless. But nonetheless, it's a method of getting these Chaney films finally to some form of home media, which is the best part, and the only good thing about these releases. Well, the films could be good themselves too, but that's a given. The plot summary goes like this. You have a assistant store clerk who aspires to become a detective, and there are some really bizarre things going on with a local sanitarium, and yeah, that's basically the story. We have a very interesting opening where a character is captured and taken to the sanitarium. It's a very dark and moody sequence in the beginning of the film, and I give them props for putting that at the start of the film. It gets things going. Unfortunately, what happens is that there's a next part, and that next part takes place in a little town that's somewhat close to the sanitarium. And it's basically pretty dull melodrama. The main assistant clerk character that I mentioned earlier, he's not a very interesting human being, and he's more like comedic relief, even though we're supposed to identify him as like the hero. And he does very similar things to Sherlock Jr. in the Buster Keaton film that I talked about on the 9th episode of Silent Film Saturday. An episode you should really check out right now. And that goes on for a good portion of time, and it's a little hard to get through for me personally. Now, once they get into the house, it's a little more interesting because you have Dr. Ziska, played by Lon Chaney Sr., and he tries to subdue the main protagonists, and he has like 3 patients, a couple patients with him that are in the house, and there's several attempts to try to nab them and kill them. In the film, there's a scene where one of the other characters is trying to find an opening, that way this gas that's entering the room won't kill them, and the main hero is he's a bit out of it, I'm just going to say that, and there's something lowering above the female ingenue and female lead in the film, and it's really funny. It's genuinely really funny in that scene. It's a nice blend of horror and comedy, which that's basically what this film is. It's a horror comedy treated as such. It's of the genre. It's kind of the precursor to the Old Dark House genre. Films like The Old Dark House or the various incarnations of The Cat and the Canary. Which, The Cat and the Canary is one of my favorite silent films, and I might review that eventually. But regardless, the film, in some instances does succeed with its blend of horror and comedy. One of my other favorite elements to the film was the uncredited musical score. When I looked at the back of the package, they said, composed, comes from a original silent film score. I tried to look it up online, and everywhere I turned was a dead end. I could not find who wrote the score to this film, but the score is very good and sets a very creepy mood and really does add to the visual sense of the film, which is very creepy. The film gets some influence from German Expressionism with some creepy imagery, and there's like certain scenes where you see like hands coming out of walls, or you see like trap doors pop in and pop out, doors like completely shut when somebody finds an opening. rocks. You know, it's a pretty zany film in that sense. It almost seems like it's parodying itself in some ways, but I don't know. Like I said, the visual sense of this film is impressive, like the opening scene. The romantic interest is almost superfluous. It's almost like a necessary point in the plot. It's not really like, oh my god, it's so important. No, it's just kind of attached there. The interesting part about this is that we find out later that Dr. Ziska, played by Chaney, is actually one of the inmates. But he took over the sanitarium and put the real doctor and other people in the dungeon of the sanitarium, and installed various traps and devices throughout the building. Also, Ziska used to be a brilliant surgeon, but he went insane and did all these crazy operations. And he was thinking about doing a soul transfer, or a way to create immortality. And it's an interesting third act. The third act is probably the best part of the film because it's exciting, visually it's impressive, and the villain gets defeated. And the death of Dr. Ziska is a very cool and well done sequence in the film. And it's also kind of sad for one of the other inmates, Caliban, because he accidentally kills him, mistaking him for like another one of our hero characters. But unfortunately for Caliban, Ziska was killed. And of course the hero saves the day. He's respected as an amateur detective, and he gets the hand of the leading lady, Betty. This film, I was able to appreciate it more this time around. The first time I saw it, I really didn't care for it. And then, I'm trying to remember if I watched Cat and the Canary and The Old Dark House before I watched this film the first time. But now when I look at it, I realize it's a precursor to those films, and in that sense it's a pretty good movie in that sense. It's just not a great movie, and there are better films of this movie within the genre, like the Cat and the Canary or The Old Dark House. So I'd say check it out. I don't know if I would say get the DVD, but you know, if you're the type of person that likes home media, then I'd say, yeah, why not? Check it out. It's a decent film. It's not horrible. It's just not a fantastic film, but it's important for the subgenre of the Old Dark House subgenre for film. Next week on Silent Film Saturday, I shall be talking about the 1923 thrill comedy, Safety Last.